Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, welcoming you to the program agenda on One News PH Channels 8 and Channel 250 of Cignal TV. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much for being subscribers of Cignal TV. We appreciate your patronage and being our viewers here on the program. Today is December 9, 2021. It's a Thursday. Konti na lang, konti na lang. Malapit na talaga tayong pumasok doon sa abutan ng bonus. Bonus for many of you. And I do hope that many of you get some form of bonus, whether it's a 13-month pay or whether it's a performance bonus. I really wish you all get some of that because I know marami po talagang naghihikahos, many are struggling, and of course that is something that could make a difference. And for those of you who are employers, who are bosses, don't fret because when sabi nga ng Bible, when you give to the poor, when you lend to the Lord, okay? Baka iniisip nyo one-way street. Pasalamat na kayo ang nagbibigay at hindi kayo ang nanghihingi. Okay? Let's go to the daily starter for today, December 9, 2021. Every weakness you have is an opportunity for God to show His strength in your life. Based on the verse from 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Many of us have read this passage many times, have heard it many times, pero parang sa marami, we don't fully comprehend or understand it. We just simply think that, well, God is powerful and we are human, so we will be weak in comparison. However, the story I realized behind this is, kung kayo po ay mahilig, if you like watching those inspirational movies, true-to-life stories of basketball teams, baseball teams, athletes, artists, performance people na yung bang were written off. Sabi nila, wala, that guy will never make it, okay? Or basketball teams that were said, oh, they'll never make it to the championship, etc. And yet we all have seen so many inspirational movies of teams that made it, of individuals that made it, di ba? Pati nga yung pag-gold medalist ni Hidilyn Diaz. Who would have imagined that she would be an Olympic gold medalist? And we all love those movies. But even Hidilyn would tell you that, the honor and glory goes to God, because without God, she would not have been that performance athlete that she is now. And I just want to share this, that the grace of God is sufficient for you, for the power of God is made perfect in your weakness. Maaring weak ka, you may be weak, you may be the underdog, you may be like me, the guy voted least to succeed in life, least likely to amount to anything. But by the grace of God, God picks us up, builds us up, positions us, opens the windows and the doors so that grace will abound, and He puts us on the winning circle. So yun po, no? Be encouraged this week. And if you feel that you are weak, then find strength in God. Okay, now let's turn to the front page of the Philippine Star. It's 8:04 in the morning here in Lipa City, Batangas. The headlines: DOH mulls Raps versus 8 travelers from South Africa. The Department of Health, in the person of Secretary Francisco Duque, has stated the idea of filing a complaint or charges against the 8 Filipinos or travelers who came from South Africa but did not fully comply with the information or did not enter all the complete information on their arrival cards. Kumbaga, some said they came from Makati, but they actually came from South Africa. Others naman, they gave the contact number, but the contact number was incomplete or that there was no actual address. So 1 out of 8 has been located. The 7 are still missing, etc., etc. So that is the plan of the Department of Health, or iniisip pa lang. They are considering it. However, Secretary Carlo Nograles, the acting spokesperson, indicated or appealed to these travelers, magpakita po kayo, please present yourselves to the authorities so you can be checked, so you can be traced, tracked, etc., so that we are sure that you did not bring in any virus whatsoever. Now, here, in this particular incident, I do believe that the left hand and the right hand needs to meet together, because yung sinasabi ng DOH, parang iniisip nilang kasuhan. Sabi naman ni Secretary Nograles, teka, let's find them first, let's talk to them, and then let's deal with cases, etc., and punishments later. Ayan, sabi nga ng mga Hapon, solve problem first. Okay. Further to the front page, let's go to the header. Comelec reminds bets, don't endanger lives of your voters. Okay, the aspiring candidates next year in next year's election should not endanger the lives of their supporters in the heat of any election-related activities as the country continues to battle the COVID-19 pandemic. That's according to COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez, because it has been noticed, it has been observed that many of these motorcades, rallies, pati na yung pinopost sa social media is presenting a picture that is in violation of health protocols, and actually promoting the idea that it's okay to have crowds, okay? Mass gatherings, which is not, especially because we are dealing with the Delta variant and we don't want to lose our advantage. Okay, yan po. Go back to the front page. The COVID may be endemic by summer next year. Okay, according to Octa Research Fellow Father Nick Austriaco, there is a possibility that with the arrival of all these sorts of medicines, vaccines, etc., etc., COVID may end up becoming similar to influenza. Kumbaga, it's there, but it is not something that is going to become such a major catastrophe, disaster, because we are now better informed, we have better equipped, we have better medicines, etc. Okay, so that's the good news. If that happens, okay, may COVID, pero maraming gamot, maraming magagawa. Okay, let's go on. Ito po ang medyo masakit na balita. Isang journalist sa Pampanga was shot dead in his native Samar province. A journalist, member of the Pampanga Press Club, and is a correspondent of the Manila Times, Bandera, and Reuters, was shot dead in his home in Samar Province. The gentleman is Jess Malabanan of Pampanga. Ayun po, medyo another one bites the dust. And ayan po, no, makakadagdag na naman yan sa sakit ng ulo ng Duterte administration because of the killings that is occurring during their watch. Okay. Next up, that picture there is of a tourist visiting the Clark Safari and Adventure Park in Clark Freeport Zone in Pampanga. Nag-open na po, soft opening po yung Safari and Adventure Park, and you can see naman, hindi po statwa yon. Those are not statues. Those are real real lions. Lions, I think they're lions. Forgive my poor eyesight this morning. And the park, which will formally open today, is home to around 1,500 animals of 70 species, including those rescued from Taal volcano's eruption in 2020. Ayun po, no? So sana naman mukha namang magandang kondisyon ng mga malalaking kuting na yon. Okay? Now, let's go forward. COVID tally of cases as of December 8 yesterday, 370 new cases, which is still okay because it continues to be low. The number of deaths went up again. 171 Filipinos died from COVID-19 yesterday, which brings us to 49,761 Filipinos dying from COVID-19. Okay. And Secretary Duque believes there will be no post-holiday COVID surge in the horizon because there is a lot of concern, if not speculation, that because of the increased mobility or movement of so many Filipinos all over the country, particularly those living in the National Capital Region who have essentially gone on full tourist mode, driving out to different provinces, beach resorts, etc., and even abroad, there is a concern na baka raw magkaroon ng surge. But according to Secretary Duque, there is no plausible or no possibility because many have developed natural immunity as they are now vaccinated. Okay, let's now go back to the front page. Okay, ayan na naman po tayo, ha? In keeping with the holiday spirit, the Christmas season, an enforcer dressed as Santa Claus directs traffic along Macapagal Avenue in Pasay City yesterday, which reminds me, we got a message video from Attorney Makalintal regarding yan pong binabahang lugar ng Macapagal Avenue, calling di Parañaque City Hall, DPWH. 1 year na raw po yung baha dyan. No one can seem to figure out what's causing the flooding and why it cannot be resolved or stopped. Okay, now go back to the front page of the Philippine Star. That woman, okay, yung kanyang outfit, meron pa siyang bow tie sa ribbon sa ulo, is a personnel of the Department of Labor and Employment who took part in the cleanup drive at the Manila Bay Dolomite Beach to mark Dole's 88th founding anniversary yesterday. So, ayan po, sana naman, habang ginagawa yan ng DENR, we appeal to the DENR, please also look into the foreshore conflicts all over the Philippines, particularly here in Batangas province, where many of the foreshore and beach fronts are being claimed by developers. Hindi na pinapatawid ang mga mangingisda at only residents or clients can stay in those areas because ang feeling ng mga developers, pati yung foreshore at beach sa kanila na. Okay. Let's now go to the other news. This one is going to be a long one because it is a very important news item. Duterte signs executive order on price cap for more medicines. Hindi po illegal drugs, ha? Okay? Baka iba sa inyo dyan, mali ang basa ninyo. President Duterte has signed an executive order, EO, regulating the prices of more drugs used to address the leading causes of morbidity in the country. Acting Presidential Spokesperson, Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles said Duterte signed the EO 155 last Tuesday. This is the important part, okay? The EO states that price regulation via maximum retail price or MRP or maximum wholesale price, MWP, will be imposed on 34 drug molecules and 71 drug formulas used in agents affecting the following: bone metabolism, analgesics, anesthetics, anti-angina, anti-arrhythmic, anti-asthma, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease medicines, antibiotics, anticoagulants, anticonvulsants, and anti-diabetic, anti-diuretic, and antiemetic drugs. Okay. Also included are molecules and formulas in anti-glaucoma, anti-hypercholesterol, etc., etc. Basahin nyo na lang po online by going to the Philippine Star website. Okay. Now, the Bureau of Immigration is reportedly letting in Filipinos and foreign diplomats coming from red list countries. They are exempted from the travel ban and will be allowed entry to the Philippines according to the Bureau of Immigration. BI Commissioner Jaime Morente yesterday said the policy allowing entry of Filipinos and foreign diplomats into the country is in compliance with a new resolution issued on November 25 by the IATF. Okay, so yung mga diplomats, qualified dependents such as spouse, children who are holders of valid diplomatic or official passports are allowed to enter the Philippines. Okay, so that's good news because now marami tayong mga kababayan, lalo na yung mga anak na mga gustong bumalik sa Pilipinas ay makakauwi. And of course, they will have to undergo quarantine, especially because people are still on defensive position regarding the Omicron variant. Okay, last but not the least, we have the might and vigor in one name announcement of Photon. Photon Motor Philippines marked its 15th year in the country by the launching of new trucks, particularly the new Tornado M2E E4 and M6.1C. So ayan po, nung umpisa medyo parang ini-small yung Tornado na yan o yung Photon, but the people quickly discovered that the Photon brand is probably one of the biggest manufacturers in China. And it's come to the point where binili na nga po ng China or mga companies in China yung ilang brands, global brands, tapos matapos silang dalhin nila sa kanilang bansa yung brand, eh, pinag-aralan at kinopya and came up with other brands. Okay, uh, today we will have a very interesting topic, and we are just waiting for our hookup with our resource person because I have been monitoring kasi kayo po no you may be like me and many others who are now lining up or want to line up for their third or their booster shot for the COVID vaccine. Many of us have been vaccinated, double vaccinated with Sinovac, and we are now lining up for our third dose. However, there are so many questions that people are asking. We thought it would be best to ask experts. Kasi ang problema kasi po dito, may mga nagtatanong, if I was vaccinated with Sinovac, what brand vaccine should I get for booster shot, or do I have to get a different brand for the booster shot? Okay, like me, I got Sinovac. And when you go around and asking just friends, people will say, oh hindi, balita ko, dapat Pfizer. Some people will say, oh, ano ka, Sinovac, dapat you should get Moderna. That is what was announced, etc. Pero parang sabi ko nga, can somebody show me the rule book? What really is the rule? Because some people have said, well, the simplest thing to do is just to have yourself vaccinated with Sinovac. If you are Sinovac vaccinated, then stay with Sinovac. So there is, hindi naman po debate, but obviously there is lack of clarity on that matter. Now, that's one issue. The other issue is with regards to adverse reactions or what to expect with the third boost. Kasi most of the people I have spoken with have said no incident, no concern, nothing out of the ordinary. Most people who got their third shot are simply saying, may masakit lang, no injection. But that's also the same thing that many people said when they got their first shot, their second shot. And clearly, people are just really averse to being injected. Now, however, there have been a handful of cases, hindi naman ganong marami, pero medyo nagkakapansinan na. And we decided na before things get out of hand, kasi alam nyo, ang hirap sa sunog pag hindi mo pinarehan, hindi mo kinontrol, dinirect yan, kahit anong madaanan yan, masusunog, mapapaso. And so, apparently, some people have had reactions. Sabi, masakit, nilagnat, parang flu-like symptoms, etc. So we said, better we get our doctors on board, the experts, to find out. And we will now be hooking up with one of our regulars. But first, let's go for a quick break. And when we come back, let's pursue this particular concern. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, welcome back to the program agenda. I apologize for having the sniffles. Hindi po talaga may iwasan dahil sa lamig dito. But just so everyone is is not alarmed. Ito po, no, ako po ay nagpa-testing kahapon, nagpa-antigen testing ako just to be sure. And I encourage everyone, if you come down with a cold, a cough, and before you go out or meet people, I strongly suggest that you be considerate enough to have yourself tested, okay? Kahit antigen or RT-PCR. In fact, it was my wife's position that if we are telling people they should not be going out or leaving their homes if they are sick, then we ourselves should make sure that we are also tested and for the safety of others. So, bagamat ako po ay sipunin ngayong mga nakarang araw, ako naman po ay na-test na. So, let's go forward to the interview portion of agenda, and let's bring in the Chief Medical Officer and Medical Director of Asian Hospital and Medical Center. He took up Doctor of Medicine and Master's degree in Clinical Epidemiology at the University of the Philippines, and also holds a Master's degree in Business Administration from the Ateneo Graduate School of Business. We have with us Dr. Jose Acuin. Dr. Acuin, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Mr. Beltran.
Doc na rin, kasi maraming veterinaryo, tawag nga sa akin, doktor kasi lagi ako lumalabas sa mga seminar sa pagbe-vetmed. Anyway, Doc, going straight to the topic, okay?
Yeah.
We just want to make sure people don't go into a panic or dive into a lot of disinformation regarding the booster shots. Kasi may mga tao, there are people who have been sharing their experience from the third dose or booster shot. Generally, everyone says it was okay, no event. But some have been saying, oh, I had flu-like symptoms, I couldn't get out of bed, etc. From a hospital scenario, what have you observed, doctor?
We have already vaccinated more than 1,500 healthcare workers in Asian hospital and doctors from nearby areas as well. At ang aming adverse event rate sa mga booster shots ay less than 1%. Actually, mas mababa pa kaysa dun sa adverse event rate namin doon sa primary series using either Sinovac or Astra. Mga 3% nung sa Sinovac ang adverse event rate, sa Astra mga 6%. So, konti lang naman.
Konti lang ang kumbaga nakiliti nung third shot or ng booster shot. Now, in terms of what to expect, what has been the experience or what has been observed with people who took the booster shot and manifested that adverse effect?
Okay, salamat sa question na yan, Mr. Beltran. Any vaccine naman you're going to have some heaviness in your arm. Siyempre, masakit, di ba? Pag sa umpisa nun. And yung iba, parang medyo lalagnatin ka for a day, for which pwede namang solusyonan ng paracetamol yan. But you should be up and about the day after. And as I said, that's true for any vaccine. Not just
Uh-huh.
necessarily coronavirus vaccine. Any vaccine, ganun talaga yung magiging reaction. Those are reactions. Kung konti lang talaga yung nagkakaroon ng allergies to the vaccine. So, it's completely safe.
Okay, how long should a patient wait or a vaccinee, tama ba yung term na yun? Vaccinee, wait
Yes.
bago sila uminom ng mga paracetamol kasi meron diyan eh. Hindi pa nga natuturukan nagpaparacetamol na. Eh.
Huwag naman. Kailangan mo lang 'yun kapag talagang nakaramdam ka no, na may na and you can verify naman 'di ba, na meron kang
Mm,
temperature 'di ba?
okay.
Or talagang hindi mo maigalaw o mabigat yung kamay mo, yung balikat mo, wag ka ng don't suffer. Mag-paracetamol ka. 'Yun lang, pero hindi ka naman kailangan mag-paracetamol kung wala kang nararamdaman 'di ba? That's not
Uh-huh.
so rational.
I remember in the early days of vaccination, we were always told if you feel any adverse effect, if you have a fever, etc., call the center, call the hospital, or call your barangay health
Yes,
officer.
yes.
What about for the booster shot? Parang hindi ko na nadidinig yon. Parang
Yeah.
non-essential na yon.
So, yeah, if there's anything na natutunan natin dito sa massive vaccination program ng NCR, natutunan tayo mag self-care, 'di ba? Sanay na tayo na merong 'yun, yung sa mga after effects ng vaccination. So, I guess the population has already aside from the fear of course of going to a health center or a hospital, has learned to care for themselves as a result of being vaccinated. Again, as an adult, usually kasi ang ating vaccination pag mga bata lang. Pero ngayon, since marami sa atin na bakunahan na, awa ng Diyos, nitong coronavirus vaccine, so okay lang na tayo muna ang mag-care ng sarili natin. Hindi natin kailangan pumunta sa any health facility unless na hindi talaga tumalab yung ating first aid, which is, as I said, it's just plain paracetamol. That's all.
Okay. Now, let's before we anything, I just received a tip here that the Asian hospital is now completely free of COVID patients, as in zero COVID patients na kayo. Totoo ba to?
Well, it was that last week. Ang ER namin is COVID-free, has remained COVID-free for a week. May mga
Aha.
dumarating, nagpapatest, pero tulad ninyo po, nagne-negative naman.
Aha.
Okay, so may mga dumarating na may ubod sipon, pero pag tinest, negative naman. Ngayon, yung aming kasing ICU, hanggang ngayon may isa o isa yata ngayon. Kasi alam nyo, pag na-admitan ka ng COVID patient, matagal bago, lalo sa ICU, 2 linggo
Yeah.
yan bago talaga makalabas ng ICU. So meron kami isang pasyente doon na 1 linggo na sa ICU, pero mukhang okay naman siya on the way out. So hindi siya completely COVID-free now. Gawa ng may isang pasyente na na-admit kami last week. 1 week
Okay.
na yung anniversary niya. Pero before that, actually wala ring COVID sa ICU. But what we need to understand is that being COVID-free is a very temporary event. Lalo na ngayon na ang COVID infection is endemic na. Hindi na siya pandemic na may mga surges and then mawawala, no? So it is already with us. Parang that's really the natural history of infections. Merong background infection rate, and therefore hospitals should always be prepared to admit a few of them. Kung sakali mang COVID-free kami ngayon, sigurado ako meron diyang COVID sa ibang ospital na hindi lang na-admit sa amin. Maybe sa community itself, may mga COVID infections doon. Hindi nga lang nasa Asian hospital.
Okay, Dr. Acuin, Acuin ba yan? Acuin or
Yes, yes,
Acuin?
sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Acuin. Okay, Dr. Acuin, the other area of concern, okay, people are a bit confused. Like, let's say me, I was vaccinated with Sinovac.
Yes.
And people are saying, Kuyang, you need to be vaccinated with Moderna. And then some people are saying, no, it should be Pfizer. And some people are saying, no, AstraZeneca. And then my daughter in the Netherlands said, wag kang magpapabakuna ng AstraZeneca. Here in Europe, they are being martyred. So parang sabi ko, too much wisdom is
Yes.
painful to the soul, sabi nga ng Bible. so, so please, you're the authority in this matter. Is there a rule book? Is there a formula that if you got A, you must have Y, X, you must get Z, etc.?
Sir, una-una, hindi naman ako gano'n hindi ako talagang vaccine expert. Ano. Ako po ay isang healthcare worker dito sa Asian. And
Yeah.
ang sinasabi sa atin ng mga eksperto at ng DOH ay kung ikaw ay nabakunahan ng Sinovac, pareho tayo nabakunahan ng Sinovac, sir. Ang sabi ng DOH, pwede ka magpabakuna ng Sinovac uli o pwedeng Pfizer or Moderna. So in other words, pwedeng homologous o yung same vaccine ang booster mo o pwede namang heterologous, pwedeng Pfizer or Moderna. So kami lahat, yung naibigay sa amin ng LGU ay Pfizer. So therefore, opo, binakunahan po namin ang aming sarili ng Pfizer kasi yun po ang available.
Mm.
Sa atin naman po, ang ating attitude yan talaga, kung ano yung ibigay sa inyo ng LGU na booster o anumang klaseng bakuna, ay atin pong tanggapin. Kasi wala po namang mga bakuna talaga ngayon na completely napag-aralan na eh. Kaya nga puro emergency use authorization yan eh, di ba?
Okay.
So therefore, tayong lahat ay dapat na mag-participate in this huge research about vaccines in general and try to also contribute by having ourselves vaccinated and having our experiences documented. So, doon po sinasabing confusion na yon, ang akin lang masasabi dyan ay ang lahat ng mga bakunang ito ay safe and lahat sila effective. And
Okay. Now,
therefore, hindi tayo
yeah.
dapat magpili.
Yeah. Pero kasi alam mo, meron akong consultant meron akong medical consultant, talagang the best in the world. And you know, he likes me so much, he does it for free. Si Dr. Google ba? Si Dr. Google kasi pinangangalandakan there is a claim. Actually, this is to be serious, okay? I came across a report recently where they are saying that in laboratory findings,
Yes.
Moderna
Yeah.
is slightly stronger, has a few points higher ranking than Pfizer and AstraZeneca, and as a result, has a slightly increased impact in terms
Yes.
of adverse effects
Yeah.
compared to Pfizer and Astra. Are you familiar with that report, Dr. Acuin?
Yes. Actually, bago muna pag-aralan sa tao yung mga ganyang mga issues about vaccine efficacy, talagang sa laboratorio muna yan, di ba?
Yeah.
And mabuti at na-bring up ninyo kasi ang kanilang outcome na mini-measure dyan ay antibodies. Okay, the amount of antibodies that are produced as a result of a vaccine. So may mga differences siyempre yan ano, sa mga bakuna. No? Kaya lang kasi dapat natin pag-aralan ang tao ay hindi tulad sa isang laboratorio na isang klase lamang ng response ang nangyayari. And antibodies is just one of the many responses that the body mounts as a result of an infection. Yung ating maraming mga tinatawag natin mga lymphocytes and mga plasma cells, yun po iba-ibang klaseng mga cells. Iba-iba yung kanilang mga inflammatory mediators na inilalabas. Antibodies is just one. So, yes, pagdating sa antibodies, maaring meron difference sila. Pero sa tunay na buhay, ang tao ay nakapag-mount ng maraming klaseng immune response sa vaccine, lalo na pag ikaw ay nagkaroon ng natural infection, nagkaroon ka ng COVID, meron kang sariling resistance na nangyayari doon na hindi lang antibodies ang responsible tulad ng mini-measure sa laboratorio.
Well, good that you brought that up kasi when you mentioned the word lymphocytes, it suddenly refreshed my mind regarding yung mga blood test results ba. May mga lymphocytes, may mga
Yes.
RBC, mga kung ano-ano. Sabi ko, ano
Yes.
ba itong mga pinagsusukat-sukat nitong mga laboratory na ito? Ay, yung pala, these are indicators that your body is functioning and it has the
Yes.
ability and the instruments to
That's right.
address infections.
Tama po kayo doon. Tama po kayo doon. Kapag may viral infection kayo, ang lymphocytes niyo dumadami. Talaga makita niyo doon sa inyong blood count, maraming lymphocytes kasi that's a sign of viral infection. Eh.
Okay. Kasi ang lagi ko na lang binabantayan yung white blood cell count. Kasi
Yeah,
sabi sa akin, Sito, bantayan mo yung white blood cell mo at ano yan, yan ang alarm bell mo. But
yeah.
yung lymphocyte, hindi ko pinapansin. So this is a medical education, Dr. Acuin. Thank you very much. No? But yung other area, because I don't know why people keep asking me this question when I raise the point of going for a booster shot. Ikaw ba naka ano ka na? Naka 6 months ka na ba from your last ano? Hindi pwede yan, kuya. Except sabi ko parang itong mga bata to, ako pa pinagsasabihan. What's is it really important that that you receive your booster shot only after you complete the 6 month period? Can it be slightly earlier or a few weeks or a month longer?
Well, depende pa nga rin sa vaccine yan eh. Sa
Okay.
J&J vaccine, it's about 2 months, di ba? So, hindi pare-pareho. Actually, there's no magic number there.
Okay.
The idea behind the 6 months rule is that napag-alaman ng mga ating researchers na habang mas matagal ang interval between the primary series, and which means yung 2 shots mo, at saka
Oh,
yung booster mo, mas mataas ang antibody response mo. Kaya they thought of the 6 month rule. But that's not a magic number, as I said. Give or take a few days, that should be fine as well. Wag naman masyadong malapit kasi gusto mo munang ibigay yung vaccine na yon dun sa mga nakaka 6 months na, di ba?
oo.
Para naman magparaya ka naman sa iba na nangangailangan ng booster. It's more of that of equitably distributing the limited supply of boosters and vaccines that we have. Ngayon, pag maganda na yung benepisyo sa'yo, which is a 6 months or more or less,
Mm.
then, but it's not a mortal sin to actually have it done. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, medically
Yeah.
speaking, that's not, but we are following the government regulation, and that is 6 months. Okay, so 6 months, para lamang meron tayong rule of thumb, ika nga. But that's a
Oo.
rule of thumb.
Pero hindi yan katulad ng expiry date o yung 5-minute rule, yung pag nalaglag yung pagkain sa sahig, wala pang 5 minutes, kainin mo na. O kaya yung expiry date sa mga pagkain
Oh,
na,
yeah.
good, 2021 pa rin naman eh. Kahit na consumed by April 2021, 2021 pa rin December, kainin. Pwede ba yan? Or medyo,
Yeah.
Beltran, wag kang pilosopo, baka ma-embal mo ka.
Well, as I said, there's an optimal time for
Aha.
eating anything, di ba? Or
Yeah.
having a vaccine done. That's an optimal time when you get the most benefit out of it, di ba? And in the case of food, where you get the most taste, di ba? You
Yeah.
enjoy the taste food. Siyempre, lumilipas na yung taste pagkatapos ng a certain storage, di ba? And that's why you have an expiry there. But it doesn't mean that you cannot eat it. It's
Aha.
not edible. Of course, you can still eat it if there's nothing will happen to you. Hindi lang kasing sarap.
Kasi may nakita kong programa sa cable eh. Merong dalawang maling Amerikano eh. Programa nila all about opening expired products eh. Tapos ewan ko ba.
I
Anyway,
should watch that.
yeah, medyo sabi ko, I didn't even give it a second look. I said, these guys are nuts. Anyway, going back to our discussion, Dr. Acuin, how are things in the hospital? Yung bang sa testing, do we now have a, parang fastest fastest result kind of testing? Kasi kahapon nagpa-testing ako because my wife
Yeah.
who is from the Netherlands is very very strict about observing health protocols and being considerate of others. So sabi niya, you are not leaving the house until after we get a test result that you are COVID free. Sabi ko, but it's just the sniffles. I don't care. You go get yourself tested because if you have COVID, I could have COVID. Everybody could have COVID. So anyway, 20 minutes lang eh. Yung
Yeah.
antigen test. So sabi ko, kita mo na, nabukulan tuloy ako ng 1,300. Eh, dyan ba sa Asian Hospital, do you have similar facilities or even RT-PCR that are just few hours wait?
Yes, our antigen, we have an antigen test where you can get the results in a short period of time. And then you have the regular RT-PCR. And then you have another, it's also RT-PCR, another kind of test, which is also RT-PCR, where you can get the result in as early as 4 hours. The
Oh, okay.
usual RT-PCR kasi, it takes about mga 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah. So, 4 hours. Wag mo na ikukwento, Doc, kung magkano kasi baka mas mura dyan. Umiyak lang ako. Ah, anyway, Dr. Acuin, thank you very much for your time today. And thank you for all the information you shared. And please, if there's anything you guys want to share with our viewers in the future, just let us know.
Salamat po, Mr. Beltran, for having us.
Okay, yan po ang ating first guest, Dr. Jose Acuin of Acuin ng the Chief Medical Officer and Medical Director of the Asian Hospital and Medical Center. Now let's bring in another regular here on agenda, none other than the Director for Infectious Diseases Department of the San Lazaro Hospital. I hope I did not mix things up. Dr. Rontgene Solante, good morning, sir.
Hi, Mr. Cito. Good morning.
Okay, siguro napakinggan mo na yung pinag-uusapan namin ni Dr. Acuin. I just wanted to get a similar assessment from you as far as San Lazaro Hospital is concerned. Yung bang mga epekto ng third booster shot, what have you observed? Kasi may mga nagsishare na naman sa Facebook ng kung ano-ano. Sabi ko, pag hindi natin inunahan yung mga yan, baka magpanik-panik na naman ng tao.
Yeah, tama yung sinabi ni Dr. Lito, no? And dito sa San Lazaro, most of us, the employee, the healthcare workers, got their booster in the form of the Pfizer vaccine. And some of those preferred getting the Sinovac, no? And it seemed that yung mga nakatanggap ng Pfizer really felt the pain at the injection site, no? They have yung mabigat ang katawan the day after. May iba na parang nilagnat pero hindi naman wala namang fever. So those are the adverse event expected among this population from Pfizer. And that also was the data no sa booster dose ng Pfizer na we should expect this for this mRNA vaccine whether you are Moderna or Pfizer compared to other platforms no. And I think ang pinaka less talaga ang reaction is the inactivated form, the Sinovac among the vaccines.
Uh-huh. Okay, Doc Ronjin, I got inoculated with Sinovac first and second shot. Now, some people are saying no, you should get a different brand para mas malakas ang ano mo, ang vaccine, ang ano mo, immunity mo. Does that necessarily follow, or should I continue with the Sinovac if I don't want to have complications?
Well, an honest observation here is that if you are in the vulnerable population, especially 65 years old and above, and with comorbidities, I think you have a lot better. You'll be a lot better with the mRNA, no? Dahil talagang mataas talaga ang neutralizing antibody with the mRNA for this population, and compared to the inactivated vaccine. So, optimizing that effect sa mRNA, then you also need to get more of this protection, no? Kasi kung ipaghambing mo sila based on the neutralizing antibody, mas mataas talaga ang mRNA. But we know na ang neutralizing antibody is not just the immune response that we also are getting. Like an inactivated vaccine can also have a neutralizing antibody, but again, protection if you want from this vulnerable population. That's why the preference in most countries now, for adults 65 years old and above, and those with comorbidities and immunocompromised, are the mRNA or the virus vector like AstraZeneca.
Okay. Now, what about there in the hospital? Meron ba kayo nakikitang mga unusual adverse effects or parang same, just another day in the office?
Yeah, I would just like to point this out, Sir Sito, no, because yesterday I had a conference with cardiologists in Asia Pacific when I gave the talk on booster. Their concern with the mRNA, like Pfizer or Moderna, is the myocarditis. Okay, yung very rare side effect that will cause inflammation of the heart, no?
Mm.
And the data that was really extensively reviewed was the data on Israel, where they were able to vaccinate almost 4 million of their population based on that data. And the effect of myocarditis is really very, very, very low. No? Bigyan lang natin tong konteksto na to na baka yung iba ayaw magpa-mRNA because of that. No? But these are very rare side effects, and these are common among the younger population. Kasi if you look at some of these rare side effects, we also want to monitor this rare side effect among the younger population, like the healthcare workers, no? Yes, it's safe naman pa rin, but part of the monitoring, we'll monitor the short term and the long term side effect of some of these vaccines.
Okay, so you're saying that if ever there were any side effects, rare as they only happen with the younger population. Hindi naman kaya kasi meron na ring pre-existing or susceptibility to myocarditis ba yung tawag mo nun? Pasensya na,
Yes.
nagdodoktor-doktora na naman ako eh.
Oo. Kasi yun yung concern ngayon sa mga doctor. Na even most of them, the cardiologists. And in fact, there was one of the expert there from Australia that in their country, they discourage getting the mRNA for those with mga heart failure or those with meron ng mga karamdaman sa puso, no? But that I think is still part of the consent. Kung gusto naman ng pasyente, then walang problema. But we need, ang importante kasi dito sa mga adverse event, when you will be giving the vaccine, you need to explain also what are the expected adverse event, the local reaction, the systemic reaction, and then what will you expect also mga long term. Because in that
Mhm.
way, at least when they will be monitored, they will be telling you ano yung mga naramdaman nila.
Okay, matanong ko lang 'no, dito sa sinabi ni-raise mo na rin kasi 'no, mapupunta na tayo sa cardiology nito, eh. Kasi marami sa aming mga 65 and above na may mga heart conditions. You were saying that because we are a susceptible or compromised population, we should really go for mRNA. But what about the population that have heart disease or heart conditions? Kasi like in my case, I think I have a strong heart, but I have stents. Now, is mRNA still advisable for cardiac patients or seniors who have heart disease?
Okay, so siguro we have to balance, no? Because if we are after the high immunogenicity, no, yung mataas na antibody response over that very very small risk of myocarditis. And in fact, doon sa data, yung mga myocarditis is also self-limited, no? So which means that even if you have that, then likelihood that you will recover is also high. But yung incidence kasi ng myocarditis in the elderly is not yet that high. Nandun talaga sa 30 to 50 years old at hindi pa na masyadong nakikita sa mga elderly. And
Mm.
that's why if you want to get big data on this, let's look at US because US is more or less 70 to 80% are giving the mRNA vaccine.
Yeah.
Kasi dalawa lang yung mRNA nila, no? Pfizer and Moderna. And in their data, they released, I think last week, 12 million vaccinated with mRNA. Nothing, no, there was nothing, no mention about the myocarditis and the perimyocarditis.
Ayun. So, chances are, as I suspected, there may have been a pre-existing or predisposition scenario to those that were discovered in Israel. Although it is largely for very young or for young population, 30 to 50. And doon sa nagtatanong, ano raw po ba yung myocarditis? You mentioned it is an inflammation of the heart, correct? Now, is this a long-term side effect or is it parang okay, nag-react, nagkaroon ka ng myocarditis o uminom ka lang ng dalawang paracetamol at magpakulo ka ng bayabas, pwede ka na, ano ba yan, diyan ba na madaling ma-resolve or pag tinamaan ka ng myocarditis, teka, may problema tayo bata?
Yung sa data kasi, it usually comes after the second dose. Okay,
Okay.
within 7 to 14 days after the second dose. And wala namang nakikita yung after that, no, yung long term. And the most common manifestation is like chest pain, okay? Parang hinahapo, tapos parang malakas yung heart rate, no?
Uh-huh.
And in the data, most of those or majority really are self-limited. They just are monitored and talagang nandun sa mga younger population over the older population.
Okay, now in terms of choices, kasi I find myself having to discuss this with people who are asking me dahil nasa media tayo, if you were to present the consequences with the mRNA, merong parang sabi nga nila, merong remote, limited possibility of myocarditis. Pero kung hindi ka naman magpa-booster, ano naman yung posibleng tumama sa iyo if your immunity is weakened? Kasi yun nga yung issue ngayon eh. Ito nga, nagtatanong yung aming executive producer, do we need booster shots every 6 months? Because I already said, we're gonna need that at least on an annual basis. What's the scenario like, Dr. Solante?
Okay, no? So choices in terms of the booster will depend kung ano yung primary vaccine series mo. Okay. Kung titingnan natin yung immunogenicity data lang, ang ibig sabihin, kung mataas ang antibody level response on giving a third dose, mas angat ang mRNA. If it will be the third dose for Astra, for Sinovac, okay, and even for Janssen, no.
Mm-hmm.
Second is AstraZeneca. If you also give the homologous, among the homologous booster, it's also one of that is again the mRNA is still nakaangat pa rin over the other. Tapos
Okay.
most of the homologous data do elicit a very good immune response, meaning the antibody titer even shoots up 2 or 3 times higher than doon sa dalawang binibigay mo, no? And you only need one dose, and that one dose alone was able to elicit very high spike of your neutralizing antibody because the primary vaccine series already prime your immune response that
Yeah.
cells upon giving the third dose will stimulate further antibody. So the preference there will be, for me, ang sinasabi ko palagi dyan, all of these vaccines, whether homologous or heterologous, I don't consider any of these as non-inferior because all of these elicit the same antibody response. Titingnan nyo kung ano yung side effect. Halimbawa, kung nakapag-Sinovac ka and you're comfortable na you don't want to have those injection pain, namamaga or napapagod or masakit ang katawan, then go with the Sinovac. If you are used to Pfizer as your primary vaccine, then you get Pfizer because you know familiar ka na rin sa mga side effects.
What about Doc Ronjin? Kasi we're about to run out of time here. Are we going to need booster shot every 6 months or once a year na lang yan?
For now, we don't know yet, no. But as of now, we need this third dose or a booster in order for us to be protected again, as what we have in the primary vaccine series.
Okay.
We will wait for the data if we need another booster.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doc Ronjin, and hope to speak to you on a longer basis next time. God bless you, Doc.
Thank you, Mr. Cito.
Okay, and that's Dr. Rontgene Solante of the San Lazaro Hospital. Now I leave you with our blessing. My God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus. To our God and Father be glory forever and ever. Amen. Thank you very much for watching Agenda here on One News PH and for being subscribers of Cignal TV. God bless all of you. Please continue to include us in your prayers. Mabuhay and love you all.